Atheism is an impossible religion.
What do these people think they're going to accomplish by calling atheism a religion? I mean, even if it was true, do you think that this will encourage us to not argue against them? Don't they go around arguing against other religions? Don't they claim that theirs is true and the others are false? Let's do this. Greetings, fellow space travelers. BionicDance here. First, please forgive me. I intended to make a new video ages ago, but I had lost my voice for no good reason, and yesterday was having a ton of seizures from my epilepsy, so... But I'm here now, and I found this guy who's not only completely screwy in his view about atheism, but also comes off like he's totally tripping on Quaaludes.
There's a lot of things that need to be said that really are crazy to think about. But the average atheist will have all kinds of moral issues. They'll say, well, it's wrong to do this, it's wrong to do that, ain't that too bad? But morality is something that's only a Christian term. What I mean by that is only in a biblical worldview can you make sense of morality.
Okay, first of all, I'm pretty sure that most religions have a moral system and not just Christianity. Second, morality doesn't have to be nothing but absolutes, rights and wrongs. It's enough to be acceptable and unacceptable. The way I see morality, it's the intersection of hurts and doesn't hurt on one axis, with permission and without permission on the other. And sure, this means that what's okay for one person might not be okay for the other, and it means that there is a lot of improvisation when it comes to morality. But at least there is a lot of overlap between cultures.
If we just happened by random chance and everything evolved, then there would be no such thing as right or wrong.
Why? Why do they keep saying that the only alternative to deliberate guidance is random chance? Just because something isn't consciously guided doesn't mean that it's random. The universe follows patterns, and patterns aren't random and don't need to be deliberately made. And why would there be no reason for morality? Do you like being killed or hurt? I don't like being killed or hurt. If I'm allowed to kill or hurt you, aren't you allowed to kill or hurt me? How about we agree to not kill or hurt each other? In fact, let's work together as a community. Aren't we stronger if we work together as a group? It'll enhance our probability of survival and prosperity. That is the root of morality, how we all benefit from its use. Of course, not every culture thinks the same things are beneficial, which is why we even have different cultures. It all makes sense. No God required.
The reason things are right and wrong is because God said things are right and wrong.
Because God said so? Why does that make it right or wrong? Just because it was God who said it? Let's assume for a moment that God actually does exist, which is a separate issue, but let's go hypothetical here. Why is His word law? How do you know He's not just messing with us? Goodness knows that there are plenty of religious rules that make a lot of people's lives less than pleasant. And look at God's commandments. The first 3 are just about propping up His ego. It's not until halfway through that we start talking about killing and stealing, and rape isn't even on there, just cheating. Lying isn't even till number 8. And I'm sure there are quite a few things that we consider wrong that aren't even on the list. Why not? Is it just so they didn't have to mess with a lovely round number like 10? This argument makes Swiss cheese look solid by comparison. It's, wait for it, holy.
Without God, there is no reason for any morality at all. Morality would be, and that isn't to say atheists can't be moral, that's a problem for atheists. Atheists tend to be fairly moral. And it's because God has written His law on every heart of every person in the world.
First of all, prove it. Second, religions, even separate branches of Christianity, will argue with each other over what God allegedly wrote on our hearts with no way at all to show whose interpretation is correct. I'm going to stick with the pain and permission code. At least then we're maximizing safety and happiness. And isn't that what morality really is for? If not, then what is? Pleasing your invisible sky master? But why? What if he'd said that murder is not only totally cool, but actually mandatory? You gonna go around killing as many people as you can? Just because God said so? And if not, then I'd have to say that your morals come from somewhere else. And don't give me any God would never say that crapola. I'm asking what you would do if he did. It's a hypothetical scenario. What would you do?
And when we realize that we've done what God has told us not to do, the easiest thing to do for humans is to imagine that maybe God doesn't exist and maybe they can just go on doing whatever they want to do, and maybe there won't be a penalty for it.
And this is what religious morality really comes down to. Needing justice, needing people to get their comeuppance, to know that nobody gets away with hurting people. Basically, they are, like children, shouting, "It's not fair," and expecting a parent figure to make everything right. That life might be messy and, yes, unfair, that it's up to us, is something they're not willing to consider. That kind of world is scary, I freely admit. And it requires people who are strong to live in it. Religion is the world's binky, the theist security blanket. That's what it really comes down to.
There's some interesting words of Jesus that I wanted to include in this video. If you look at John chapter 3 and read verses 16 through 18, I believe every word of this passage was spoken directly by Jesus. He said, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son."
Now, let's think about it for a moment. Murder by proxy, or conspiracy to commit murder, is still murder. By sending his own son to be killed, God is breaking his own commandment about murder. But that's okay, 'cause he's God. Right? And why would an all-powerful being need this idiotic sacrifice anyway? Couldn't he just poof-a-smoke this shit and make it all better? Seriously, the Christian legend has never made sense.
Atheists really need to give up the religious phony views and to turn to the one true God and accept the payment that he has made for their sins, and they'll have eternal life.
Well, let's start with this. Prove God is real. And do it using the same kinds of evidence we expect when proving anything else is real, instead of demanding we treat your religion like a special case. Remember, the Bible is the claim, not the evidence. It's what needs proving. But next, this is, again, another example of religious fear. The fear that life can end, that they can end. Turn to God and you'll have eternal life, he says. Well, again, prove it. Also, maybe someday science will achieve this, that, barring injury, you can last forever. Someday, ask me about the idea I had a while back about replacing the biological brain using nanobots, doing it slowly to maintain continuity of thought. Actually, that's most of it. Still, it might be a crazy idea, or it might just work. Digression over. Until next time, fellow space travelers, this is BionicDance saying don't run on automatic. Instead, please think.
Even YouTubers need Ferraris. Please donate on Patreon.
You've got two choices. You can rate this video and share it everywhere across social media, or I can send my minions after you. Choose wisely.